is day 4 of 30, another mile, another memory. Today, our first destination is Grasmere village, which is about 55 odd kilometers from where we are staying. We will be visiting the grave of William Wordsworth, stopping by the famous Grasmere gingerbread shop, exploring St. Oswald's Church, wandering through the daffodil garden. Then we head to Claife Viewing Station, looking out over Lake Windermere. We'll spend some time taking in the panoramic views from different levels, snapping plenty of photos, and walking along the surrounding woodland trails, pausing to enjoy the quiet, and just really soaking in the beauty of the Lake District before heading off again to Ambleside, to the famous house on the river. This is one of the most photographed spots in the area, so it is worth stopping for a few minutes. All of this will be done within a day, and that is what we have planned. Then we head back to our stay in Burton and Lonsdale, cook a simple dinner, and just relax for the evening. The whole road trip will be about 130 odd kilometers in total. We start the day by packing lunch, fresh sandwiches, coffee, and some berries. It's quick and simple but perfect for a day out, and saves time and money once we are on the road. We get ready and step outside to enjoy the weather with a chilled Bavarian beer and some leftover chicken and rice from last night. It's a relaxed start, good food, fresh air, and an easy pace before heading out. As we stepped out of our rented property, we noticed a fellow traveler passing by in a horse-drawn carriage. It's a unique and fun way to get around and something you don't see every day. Today's route is the same until Kirkby Lonsdale, following the same village road that joins the main expressway towards Lake Windermere. This time, instead of turning off towards Bonus on Windermere, we continue into the mountains, taking the more scenic route and eventually reaching the village of Grasmere. About 30 minutes in, we reach the mountain roads and the whole drive starts to feel very different. The roads get narrower and more winding with sharp bends and changing elevations, so you have to slow down and stay focused. But that's also what makes this stretch so enjoyable. It's not just about getting somewhere, it's about the drive itself. Along the way, you'll notice stone walls lining the roads, open fields with sheep grazing, and occasional viewpoints where you can pull over for a quick break. There are also small streams and patches of woodland that break up the landscape, giving you a mix of scenery throughout the drive. Every few minutes, the view changes, which keeps things interesting. In about an hour, we reached the Grasmere village. We parked our car right in front of Heaton Cooper's studio, where we picked a few artworks and postcards. There is also a large parking area in the center of the village with paid parking available, but we chose to skip that. We also took a walk through the village market, exploring a few local shops before heading towards Sarah Nelson's gingerbread shop, which is a must visit when you're in Grasmere. Grasmere is a small but very charming village, known for its traditional stone buildings, cafes, and relaxed atmosphere. It's easy to explore on foot, and everything is quite close to the village center, which makes it ideal for a slow, unhurried visit. You'll find a mix of local shops, bakeries, and places to grab a coffee, all set against a backdrop of hills and greenery. If you're planning to visit Grasmere without a car, it's definitely possible to get there by bus from London, but it does take some time and planning. There isn't a direct bus to Grasmere, so you'll typically need to change at Manchester. From London to Manchester, the bus takes around 4.5 to 5 hours, and then you switch to another bus heading towards the Lake District, passing through places like Windermere before reaching Grasmere. The total journey time comes to roughly 9 to 10 hours depending on connections. In terms of cost, tickets usually range between £50 to £80 for the full journey if booked in advance, though cheaper options can sometimes be found. Once you're in the Lake District, local buses like the 555 route connect major spots including Windermere, Ambleside, and Grasmere, and these are quite affordable, often just a few pounds per ride. As for a day trip, it's technically possible but not very practical. You would be spending close to 18 to 20 hours just traveling back and forth, which doesn't leave much time to actually enjoy the place. A better option would be to stay at least one night so you can explore Grasmere and the surrounding areas at a more relaxed pace. Since Grasmere is a small village, parking is fairly straightforward but mostly paid if you're using the main central car park. Expect to pay around £5 to £8 for a few hours depending on the season and duration. The village itself has a mix of locals. Many are involved in tourism, hospitality, or small local businesses, along with long time residents who have lived here for generations. It has a relaxed community feel, and you will notice a slower pace compared to larger towns. The best time to visit is between the spring and early autumn, when the weather is pleasant and the surrounding hills are at their best. Summer is the busiest, while spring and early autumn offer a good balance of nice weather and fewer crowds. If you're coming from Lake Windermere, you can also combine a boat ride with your journey. Take a ferry or cruise from Bonus on Windermere to Ambleside, which is a popular and scenic route across the lake. From Ambleside, Grasmere is about 10 to 15 minutes drive, or a short bus ride on routes like the 555, making it an easy and enjoyable way to reach the village while experiencing the lake as well. Sarah Nelson's Gingerbread Shop is a small historic spot that has been around since the 1850s. It's known for its unique gingerbread, which is softer than a biscuit but firmer than a cake. Up next is the Daffodil Gardens. This area is closely linked to the poet William Wordsworth, who lived in Grasmere and found inspiration in its landscapes. He is buried at St. Oswald's Church nearby, which is why this part of the village holds so much literary and historical significance. His famous poem about daffodils was inspired by the natural beauty of the Lake District, and the gardens reflect that connection. The surroundings here are really pleasant. You've got well kept green spaces, seasonal flowers, and the river flowing gently alongside. You will often spot ducks moving around through the water, adding to the peaceful setting. It's a nice place to slow down, take a walk, and just enjoy the scenery before continuing your day. There is also a small wishing well in the area where visitors often stop to toss a coin and make a wish. It's a simple but charming addition and adds to the overall experience of walking through this part of the village. Around this area, you will notice several shops inspired by Peter Rabbit and Friends, which connect back to Beatrix Potter, the well-known author and illustrator. She spent much of her life in the Lake District, and the landscapes here directly influenced her stories and characters. Places like Grasmere still reflect that connection, which is why her presence is so strong in the area. It adds a cultural layer to the visit, especially if you are familiar with her work. A little further along, Grasmere Tea Gardens is a great place to pause for a bit, with tea, coffee, and light snacks in a relaxed outdoor setting. It's especially nice on a clear day when you can sit outside and enjoy the surroundings before continuing your walk. We then visited St. Oswald's Church, one of the most historically significant sites in Grasmere. Parts of the church date back to the 12th century, and it has been an important place of worship and community gatherings for hundreds of years. Over time, it has been expanded and restored, so what you see today is a mix of different architectural periods, which adds to its character. Inside, one of the key highlights is the memorial plaque dedicated to William Wordsworth. It's a simple but important feature that reflects his deep connection to the village and how closely his legacy is tied to this church. The interior has a traditional and historic feel with wooden pews, a carved pulpit, and a beautiful oak roof structure that stands out when you look up. The stained glass windows are another notable feature, some of which were added later and bring in soft natural light, adding to the overall atmosphere without being overly ornate. You will also find several memorial tablets and inscriptions throughout the church, many dedicated to local families and individuals who played a role in the community over the centuries. These details give you a sense of how the church has been at the center of village life for generations. Another interesting aspect is the long-standing rush-bearing tradition. Rushes are grass-like plants that grow in wet areas, and they were historically used to cover church floors for warmth and cleanliness. This tradition is still remembered and celebrated today, showing how old customs have been preserved here. We then went back to collect our car and headed for the next part of today's road trip. Leaving Grasmere, the drive starts off fairly easy but soon turns into the classic Lake District experience with narrow, winding roads and sharp bends. As you continue, the roads get tighter, sometimes just wide enough for one car, so you have to use passing places when vehicles come from the opposite direction. Along the way, you pass through stretches of woodland, open fields, and occasional views of the lakes. At certain points, you can catch glimpses of the water through the trees, and there are moments where the landscape opens up to wider views of the surrounding hills. The scenery keeps changing, which makes the drive feel engaging rather than just a simple commute. As you get closer to Claife Viewing Station, the area becomes more elevated and quieter. After parking, we planned a short trek of about a quarter mile to reach the viewing station. The walk itself is quite manageable, following a well defined path through the woods, and it adds a bit of adventure to the visit without being too demanding. Claife Viewing Station is a historic structure that dates back to the 18th century, originally built as a viewing point for visitors exploring the Lake District. Once you reach the top, you're rewarded with clear views across Lake Windermere and the surrounding landscape. It's a great spot to pause, take in the scenery, and appreciate both the natural beauty and the history of the place. Overall, this part of the journey combines a scenic drive with a short, enjoyable walk, making it a well rounded stop on the trip. As we continued along the route, one of the things that really stood out was the countryside life around us. You pass by scattered stone cottages and larger countryside properties, many of them set back from the road with open land around them. These homes blend into the landscape with traditional architecture that matches the surroundings, giving the area a very authentic rural feel. Another thing you notice is the number of people out exploring on foot. There are quite a few walkers and hikers, often with backpacks, making their way along trails or even along the roadside in some stretches. It's clear that this area is popular for outdoor activities, and you get a sense that everyone is here to enjoy the landscape in their own way. And just like that, we reached the Claife Viewing Station. From the parking area, the short walk towards the viewpoint takes you through a beautiful stretch of woodland, with tall oak and pine trees lining the path. The ground is covered with ferns, moss, and seasonal wildflowers, adding a lot of color and texture to the walk. It's a calm and shaded trail, and even though it's only about a quarter mile, it feels like a proper nature walk. Once we got to the top, we took some time to just soak in the view. You get a wide, open look across Lake Windermere, with the surrounding hills stretching out in the distance. The weather was on our side, so we paused there for a bit, had some coffee, enjoyed the lunch we had packed earlier before taking photos. While we were up there, we also spotted a large grey aircraft passing overhead. It was a C-17 Globemaster. It's a military cargo plane, and seeing it fly across the landscape was a pretty unique and unexpected moment. Our next destination, as the sun was getting low on the horizon, was the Ambleside village. It is one of the more lively spots in the Lake District, with a mix of shops, cafes, and restaurants, making it a great place to stop towards the end of the day. The streets are easy to walk through, and there is a good balance between local character and visitor friendly spots. One of the most popular attractions here is the small house built right over the river, often referred to as the Bridge House. It's a tiny stone building that sits on a bridge over Stock Gill, and it has become one of the most photographed landmarks in the area. Originally built in the 17th century, it was once used as an apple store and later as a small home, showing how space was creatively used in the past. Today, it's preserved as a historic site and is a quick but worthwhile stop when you're in Ambleside. It stands out because of its unique position over the flowing water, and it is easy to see why it is such a popular photo spot. A few photos later, it was time to head back to our cottage in Burton in Lonsdale. As we got back on the road, the drive felt much calmer compared to earlier in the day. The sun was slowly getting lower, and the light had that soft evening tone which made everything around us look a bit more relaxed. After a full day of exploring villages, mountain roads, and viewpoints, this part of the drive felt like a natural wind down. The roads were quieter now, with fewer cars around, and it gave us a chance to just enjoy the drive without rushing. We passed through familiar stretches again: open fields, stone walls, and the occasional farmhouse, seeing them in a slightly different light compared to earlier in the day. It's interesting how the same route can feel different depending on the time of the day. While driving, we were already talking about the plan for the evening. We had decided that once we got back, we would cook dinner, not just for ourselves, but also to share with our hosts. It felt like a nice and thoughtful way to end the day, especially since staying in a cottage gives you that flexibility. We planned to make something simple but fresh, something that wouldn't take too long but would still feel like a proper meal. At the same time, there was a bit of planning happening for the next day. This wasn't just another day of exploring locally. We were going to be leaving the Lake District and continuing our road trip from England to Scotland. So, as we drove, we were going over what we needed to be packing, making sure everything was in order, and thinking about how early we wanted to start the next morning. Our next destination was Glasgow, where we had our second Airbnb booked. It was going to be a longer drive compared to the past couple of days, so being prepared was important. It also felt like a shift in the trip from the quiet, scenic, nature focused experience of the Lake District to a more city based environment. We will be staying in Glasgow for 4 nights and 5 days, exploring key spots like Glasgow Cathedral, the Necropolis, and Buchanan Street. We are also planning a trip to Loch Katrine, a scenic drive through the Scottish mountains, and a ride on the Jacobite steam train, which is one of the highlights of the trip. More of this coming up in the next videos, so stay tuned and keep following our journey. We have got a lot more to explore as we head into Scotland, and we are excited to share it all with you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.